Hello, and welcome to another session of Fearful Symmetries, which is a Trail of Cthulhu uh, uh, campaign framework set in 1930s Britain. My name is Lowell. Pronouns he, him. I say my pronouns very explicitly because sometimes I get people who consider that a political statement and then leave me nasty notes on YouTube. Delicious. Oh, your salty tears are so tasty. So, where we left off last time, our characters, our magicians, are in Mather's house, which is overseen by Dr. Jaeger and his cousin. It is a strange place. You are here with a set of other magically invested folks and magicians. And so far, up before the last session, two people who you were tangentially acquainted with had gone missing, and the third person of their party was panicked. There was a shooting, and Wilford did very well out of that, much to the chagrin of our former mob connected, magically associated person. There were various interactions, discoveries that were made about certain people, about their purpose and their nature. There was the strange meeting of Mr. August and Lady Jaeger that Richard oversaw. There had been the revelation earlier that not Ozamel, but the other person had made versus Pierce. And there was, towards the later part of it, a discovery of the nature of Gustav Henneberger. Now, I'm going to screen share for folks who might be watching this so you can see uh, this here. So these are our NPCs. You will notice that they have labeled some of them carefully. Verity Dice, Tobias Kenway, Harold Gotthold, and then, of course, Gustav Henneberger. Uh, and we have our various other pieces of the cast, as well as Pascal Dumont, who was another revelation last time. Uh, and at the end, the group coming down after having dressed for dinner arrived down in the parlor where Busby was lying dead. Dr. Whitewood examined and was able to determine that it seemed to be cyanide poisoning based by the telltale pink marks on the face, but could not smell any kind of cyanide. But then when he went over and was speaking with Verity, it was very clear that Verity had been ingesting cyanide. And the conclusion was put together by the group that the attempt had been on Verity's life, and she had protections set up. Uh, uh, it was noted as well that beyond the staff and Jaegers, the other significant absence from the parlor at this point is Maxwell Pierce. And I think we're going to cut back to the room kind of in the wake of all of this. Of course, as they do between episodes, when there's been an episode break, everybody's in a slightly different position in the room than they were when last we saw them. There seems to be some conferring, and Dr. Jaeger has arrived with Mr. March, and Dr. Jaeger will once he kind of sees what's going on, he will gesture for you, Dr. Whitewood.
Mr. Jaeger, March should institute a search of the grounds. Find Pierce.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. March, would you please proceed to hunt Mr. Pierce down? And Mr. March will say, I understand, and I will endeavor to do so. And he will also say, he will then say, if you would send for one of the, a couple of the serving boys with the, can we move the body, Dr. Whitewood?
No.
Then a cloth, a discreet cloth, please.
Yeah, there'll be an antimacassar on the back of one of the armchairs. Must
Yes.
lay over the face. Um, because Mr. Jaeger, I assume, though you were not present, that you are entirely innocent in this.
Was there a question in that, Doctor?
Uh,
For a second, I thought there was a statement, but I'm not sure it turned into a question there.
I assume that you are innocent, sir, of any hand in this. Do I have your word on that?
I find the question and suggestion problematic. I did not attempt or try to kill Mr. Busby. Busby, was it? I don't even know his last name.
Uh, is there a supply of arsenic in the house?
Well, most certainly, for killing rats and such.
Could you summon the housekeeper, please?
I will do so. What are the rest of you doing as this sort of suddenly the detective consultant version of Dr. Whitewood has stepped up? Richard?
So we identified it was arsenic, right?
Cyanide.
Cyanide.
Yes.
Well, there
Yes.
wouldn't be a supply of cyanide on the grounds, would there? Because that's
Th-
quite
there-
a specific thing.
There are some particular kinds of chemicals and pesticides that have cyanide in them. So I'm going to assume that he would have answered. They're probably something I will have the housekeeper look to the supply.
Yeah, I figured that's what you would do rather than punish Alan for not remembering the exact poison.
Yes.
Well, on that basis, I would have, because I was thinking we could use, if we found the poisoning ingredient, we could use magic to find out where the rest of it is, because it would be a sympathetic link between the supply and the thing. But if there is a household product of it, you know what? I will step forward and I will look at Jaeger and I will say, well, a gathering such as this should be easy to get to the root of the matter, shouldn't it, sir? Surely among all of our powers here, we would be able to discern who has ill intent, who has been poisoning other members of the group.
Certainly, it does seem like something that our group could be able to undertake to read this particular story.
And Dr. Whitewood, it would seem rather strange for Dr. Jaeger to have any involvement, to gather us all here with an auction and then to so crudely kill us off one by one. I mean, surely slipping the poison within our first meal would have been the most appropriate way of doing this.
Perhaps.
But yes, I offer my services, sir.
Excellent. Well, let us deal with the mundane approach here first to get all of our proverbial ducks in a row, and then perhaps we'll turn to the finer arts, as you suggest, Mr. Fraser. Wilford, what are you doing?
I'm going to move to the nearest large potted plant and discreetly empty my glass into the said potted plant.
Absolutely. You will, I think,
and,
notice that Verity at this point is, for the first time, I think you've seen her, she's actually has poured herself a glass of just soda water and seems to be drinking that. It's the first time you've seen her not drink alcohol at any time.
She's running low on patsies to absorb stuff. Time of day?
Time of day, it is evening, dusk.
Dusk. So looking out of the window, can I see the maze from here?
Yeah, I think you definitely can. And I think as this is going on, I think you will see that a couple of the household staff have come out, including, of course, Mr. June and Mr. August. And you can see that they have those dogs and on leashes. And there seems to be some discussion about how to track down Mr. Pierce?
I'm just slightly worried if Pierce goes into the maze, or if he has gone into the maze.
He hasn't been seen in a couple of hours. That's been established.
In a couple of hours. Well, I do have I think I'm going to exit this room and head toward Pierce's
There is
accommodation.
absolutely. You can easily slip out the like porch doors here and come around and head on upstairs. So you'll make your way up. The staff, everyone seems to be focused on this. The rest of the staff is still getting dinner and things prepared, but you will make your way up to Pierce's room and let yourself in easily.
Yep, with a spare set of keys I have.
Yes, absolutely. The only challenge I think might be to figure out what the encoding is here. But you will come in and what do you want to roll spend here for this investigation bit?
I don't think I can really go wrong with evidence collection. So it will, yeah, show me hidden objects, or at least relationships between objects. Yeah, evidence collection I think is good. So I've made spend down on that.
All of his clothing is still here. You do note, because he has the standard setup, that he has switched from dress shoes into clearly his outdoor boots, his shooting boots, and so on, which tells you that he was going outside and was planning on traipsing around the grounds. I think the more striking clue is the body of his manservant laying there beside the bed, who you will see has kind of a shocked look on his face, his collar kind of slightly undone, and a couple of knife wounds to the chest.
Excellent. I was going to spend a forensics, but I think the term knife wounds to the chest is a reasonably obvious clue to
Do you wish to spend?
I will spend because I've got quite a few points in forensics, so let me spend down on that. So a more detailed examination of the body.
It looks like he was stabbed close up. Somebody slightly shorter, just by the angle kind of upwards. It's hard to tell exactly what kind of knife, but I think the other thing you'll smell is just the slightest hint of like lavender, like a lady's wash. And I think you will see just a little bit of lipstick on the collar that suggests to you that perhaps whoever did this got up close to him and he believed that something else was happening, and they killed him.
Bloody strange. Bloody strange. Very well. I shall close his eyes, put him at rest.
And because you make the spend, I'll tell you this. You've been around the ladies who've been downstairs, Lady Marlowe and the others and things like that. This is very common perfume. This is not.
It's not high-end kind of stuff.
Exactly.
It literally is toilet water.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it can still, at least we've narrowed down possible sex. I think we could probably do a bit more as a group there on that. So that's really good. So I will head back to my colleagues.
Yeah. I think the other thing I'll tell you is if he had any papers or anything like that, you would expect it to be a valise, something like that. There isn't one here. Either he took it with him or someone has taken it. Isabella, while all this is going on, I think you'll definitely see Wilford slip away.
Yeah. Just the thing is, does Verity usually pour her own drinks? Who's typically serving the drinks?
What do you want to spend for kind of a reading of that?
Interesting. Let's see here. This is always one of those questions that I have to slow down for. I apologize.
And do you remember that you have a build point left?
Yes, I do.
And spending your resources is such a delicious, satisfying thing for me.
It is. It is. Let's see here. Wow, seems like a social skill in the sense of watching who the dynamics
Social
are.
or forensics, evidence collection.
I think I have. Okay, sure. I will do forensics.
Point in that. Okay.
Okay.
I think that you will definitely have been observing this whole time. And you've seen that there have been various, decanters placed out there. But you have the sense that Verity has a particular taste and has asked for it. And essentially, there has been bottles of black and white whiskey that have been sort of at her elbow the whole time. And you know that those would have been brought in. I think you can kind of tell a servant would have brought that in, opened with glasses beside it. But it's very much what she's drinking from, and no one else is.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. And no one else does drink from it. So, and she pours her own for the most part, doesn't
Yes.
she? Interesting. Yes.
If it was introduced, it was either put in the bottle after it was opened, which could be the servant, or in the cup.
All right. Yeah. So and she has sensibly switched over to the soda water, knowing that. But I do.
Yeah, I think if you're studying her, you'll see that Chad looks upset, like he's very clearly like this is his fellow comrade here in arms, and
he doesn't have the sense that he's probably the next one in line if
no.
again.
Miss Marlowe, though, she is seated across the room and she is staring at this, and you can see in her eyes that she recognizes what has gone on, what is happening, and a certain amount of dawning terror has come over her.
I can imagine that. That's an interesting conundrum, and I don't know how we break that tie. But in the meantime, I probably will point the decanter of black and white whiskey out to Dr. Whitewood for him to take a check on, and that would be it. Just a quiet, discreet signal.
And we'll cut back to Dr. Whitewood.
And I noticed that signal, and I look at the gathering and say, has anyone else drunk from that bottle?
I think there'll be a general kind of murmur, and no one. I think you'll see Chaplin will pull out his own personal flask just to kind of demonstrate that while he's making use of the liquor here, this is his primary source.
Then drawing my handkerchief, carefully gripping the bottle and the top.
Oh, yes, you can smell the cyanide in there. It's faint, but enough.
We should put this bottle to one side, put it on the mantelpiece. Who, Mr. Jaeger, brought that bottle into the house?
Well, I shall have to wait until Mr. March returns. He's in
I
charge.
suppose I'm looking to Verity to see if she brought it with her or whether she's just been making use of what was in the drinks cabinet.
Verity will say, I brought a case of my own for the weekend. One never knows what the cellars of these places are going to be like. But I had that sent to the kitchens.
And was it open when you sent it, or open when it returned? And why did you send it to the kitchen, Miss Dice?
I sent the case to the kitchens.
Oh, I
I'm not
see.
carrying them around with me in my bag like some
I
sort
see.
of common drunkard. That may be the people that you're more comfortable with, but I don't have to hide my bottles in my bag.
I see. Then we do need to talk to Mrs. April.
And Jaeger will say, I will have Mrs. April sent for. Was there
And
anything else I needed to undertake,
Oh
Dr.
no,
Whitewood?
I think that's where we cut to
Okay.
something else going on.
Okay.
On a suspect by suspect basis.
Richard, as the maid is the lady housekeeper is sent for, and this is going on. You've seen Wilford has slipped out. What are you doing?
Can I find Lady Jaeger?
I think you kind of have to step outside, and I think you'll kind of see that Lady Jaeger is on the front porch of the house, and she's kind of watching as the huntsman and the groundskeepers have the dogs out and are moving around the grounds, clearly trying to sniff out Mr. Pierce here, and she looks a little dismayed.
Terrible business, really, isn't it?
Ah!
Terrible.
Oh, yes. To think that there would be. Is it murder?
Surely. Say what you will about him, Whitewood knows murder.
Does he?
Yes.
That doesn't seem to reassure her.
I meant to. I'm trying. Yeah. I suppose your man there, and he winks as he said that. Your man will soon track down any missing members of our party.
He is a servant of the house.
But yet, poor Busby he's not the only person who has gone astray here in the manor, is it? There are several guests missing.
I had to understand that Mr. Kenway left, and she pauses and she says, and that Mr. Godhold did not arrive. She says, clearly lying.
I'll lean into Lady Jaeger and I'll say, I thought we had an understanding, my lady.
What do you want to spend?
I will spend. You know, I don't do it very often. I will spend intimidation.
I think she does kind of take a step back. She looks back in the house. You see her look back at her cousin, and she does say, "This, I owe my cousin everything. He rescued me from poverty, from after the death of my parents. He swept in at the funeral and came to my aid when he did not have to. I mean, he'd only seen me once or twice. But I came back early the day before you all arrived, and I saw a person who I think was Godhold, and he was here, and I think he went to speak to my cousin. And then I went about my business getting things ready because there really are a terrible number of things to do to get ready for such a gathering. But in the evening, he wasn't at supper. And when I asked my cousin, he said that I was mistaken and that there had been no one who had arrived and that that I must have been seeing things, imagining things, but and that and she pauses, and then I should not repeat silly stories like that.
Well, I have promised not to repeat a story about a young lady in love with a member of the staff. I would advise a young lady that she may well become an accomplice to her cousin, and her cousin may well have seen more of an asset than anything else. I know not what for the purpose here is, my lady, but your cousin is a man I wish to learn many things from. But as far as I can see, he is the only person who could be orchestrating these disappearances and deaths. Godhold, missing, Kenway, now Busby.
She pauses. It can't be him, though.
I would agree with you. It seems counterintuitive, but why lie about Godhold?
I don't know, but in stories like these, he seems the obvious suspect, so he can't be the one.
True. In stories like these, however, often it is the one that you most suspect. There simply remains a better suspect for much of the story. That is a twist. And whilst I don't trust Pierce to not seize an opportunity to thin the field of potential of rivals, only one man here had the power to do anything with Godhold. Only one man was here before the rest of us arrived. It's either you, or him, or the staff.
She looks away when you say the staff.
Yeah. And my eyes linger on Lance as he goes across. And I wouldn't, and I'll even, make use of, and in this country of ours, it is usually the servants who pay the price for their masters, particularly those who have crossed them.
That certainly puts a cloud that will hang over her at the end of this conversation. I think we do cut. We see the people moving across, and once again, those dogs absolutely silent as they move across there. Let's come back to Wilford. Wilford, you've done your perusal of Pierce's room. What now? You are muted.
Back to the drawing room.
Okay.
And relay the information that Pierce premeditatively left, as in, he donned his boots. So he either knew something was going to happen to him or he wanted to get out. And his manservant has been killed. I'll pass this on to my 3 colleagues. So that's another death. Clearly, I'll tell them that possibly a female assassin, smell of lavender toilet water on him, very common perfume. So possibly somebody of a lower-ish station was the attacker.
What perfume does Lady Jaeger wear, though?
She wears something quite nice.
Okay, not lavender, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Hmm.
But a good question. Yes, no. She definitely has spent some of her money on a higher end.
a mechanics question and then
Sure.
potentially an action. Preparation, we've used it in the preparedness, sorry. Preparedness, we've tended to use as a means of having a particular item or whatever. Could this be preparedness in as much as we could access a flashback to us having a conversation about something that in certain circumstances might now be triggered? Would that be agreeable?
Oh, that's interesting. So I kind of need to know like
Okay.
what the potential like likelihood of this question do you think is?
Okay, so what I'm wanting really is to create an opportunity for Miss Grimaldi to go and open the safe where Mr. Jaeger has kept all our items, because he collected them all this afternoon, and steal them all using that 4 locksmith. And the signal for this would be, Miss Grimaldi, I seem to have forgotten my glasses, my magnifying glass. Could you check whether I brought it? I'm in room XY. If not, then perhaps try Mr. Frazier's room. I may have inadvertently put it among his luggage.
So
To
I
buy
don't
her
I don't think
time.
we even need a preparedness roll. This seems to me like a logical thing that you could have established
Just
if
have a
Isabella
signal.
if Isabella
Yeah.
is
You don't have to say anything that long. You should just have a keyword that you use because, yeah.
If
So-
only I had brought my magnifying glass.
And she goes, and you'll just see her go, like she maybe knows where to find one.
What I do want to do, though, is to engineer opportunity to an excuse for Isabella to be out of the room.
Okay.
While I say to Jaeger, it is my strong advice, Mr. Jaeger, that all your guests remain in this room.
All right.
Given Wilford has just reported that there has been another murder, this time with a knife.
Now hold on. Is this your revelation of this other murder?
Oh, I thought
Wilford has told you all.
Oh, I
but
see.
has not
Okay.
been generally announced.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. This was just between the three of us. And thinking back to last episode, Isabella did ask him directly, did she not, Lowell, about wards on the... Did you not ask directly to Jaeger about wards on the safe?
If there are other...
And he sort of reassured you that
They were
the lock
safe.
was the sort of the least of the security concerns.
Exactly.
I'm just saying before... Yeah.
But let us, Dr. Whitewood, do you want to make a roll to kind of impose your will on Jaeger and distract him, or do you want to just make like a cop talk spend?
well, I was thinking of cop talk.
Okay.
I have to say, I've learned a lot from Inspector Jepson over the years, and I, whispered conversation with Wilford, and then I will make the revelation. I am afraid, ladies and gentlemen, I must announce another murder. I strongly recommend, Mr. Jaeger, that all your guests remain in this room. But I do find myself in need of my magnifying glass. Miss Grimaldi, might I impose upon you, in the absence of Mr. Frazier, to check both my and his luggage to see if I indeed did bring it with me?
And she'll nod
And
step
Dice
down.
will say,
Yeah,
yes, I know you did because he bored it with me the other night.
And she goes,
What
right?
kind of man brings a microscope to a dinner? Just they don't tell me that.
Oh, no, my microscope is in my pocket. My magnifying glass, however, may be in my luggage.
Oh, you'll forgive my lack of knowledge of criminology, she says.
It is an increasingly complex field, Miss Dice. So I'm hoping in that I've created an opportunity for Isabella to get out.
Okay, spend that cop talk.
Excuse.
And let's cut to Isabella.
Eh, so I think one of the, all right. And the thing is, I'm supposed to go and open the safe and see what's in there.
Well, and steal things.
Oh, steal things. All
Yeah,
right.
because it
My
seems
life
to
is a
me
thief.
that we are obliged not to allow these items to fall into the hands of people that we don't trust with the fate of Albion.
Right.
Surely.
So,
Okay.
Isabella, you will make your way along. Again, servants and everyone are very much distracted, so we'll even make the stealth roll because there's going to be some other rolls here in a moment.
Oh, yes.
You'll make your way into his private study,
Mhm.
and you'll head over to this safe.
Oh, no, before I head over, I'm going to take a good long look because I did have the sense that it was not just a safe that I was dealing with. So that's the thing is, I suppose that I will, let's see here, what's going to be the best way to see what's sitting on top of this? A cult?
So I think what this is going to be is if you want to see, detect the ward and disable it, I think that is going to be, it's going to be magic.
Okay.
You may spend magic points. You may spend occult. You may spend stability. I think I'm going to tell you right now that to undo this warding here is going to be difficulty 9. Magic or other investigative skills add +3.
At the risk of inserting another component to our flashback, what about a preparedness for having run my mystic vision over the while I was in the room?
I don't think so. I think that may be a bridge too far here.
So let's see here. Magic, I have a point of, and I can mix these together.
You can
for
absolutely
this?
mix these together.
Okay. So certainly I'll spend one of my magic points for it.
You get +1 from Urizen for this
Mhm.
because you are kind of leading the project here.
Yeah, and I do look at this as a sort of version of, how do you say, dexterity, but more magical dexterity.
Okay.
So
Pull up the roller.
mhm. And what were the other things that you suggested? I could definitely,
So
I just want to make
occult,
sure.
occult, magic, and stability.
Okay. Okay. Um. Oof. So that's 3. All right. Spend my 3 occult, so that gives me 6 towards the 9.
So if you how much of the occult are you going to spend?
Said
You can
3.
spend, you're going to spend 1 magic, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 3 points.
Okay.
And if you spend an occult, that's another 3 points, so that's 6.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't
No, that's
realize that
okay.
both of them
Yeah.
were there. So how about I spend 2 of them?
2 of the occult?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 9.
Yeah, that's good.
So just don't roll a 1.
Right. Thank you for adding that, Lowell. Because it's a 1d6.
Oh, is it?
It's a 4, though.
It's a 4. So there is a ward there. What do we see you do? What do we see you engage in? How do we see you temporarily pull this back?
I I think she actually stops and she pulls she like gets her bag and she pulls out a baton. It's a magician's baton, and you see her kind of like sort of pull it out so it's its full length. She sort of does this, and she casts. And you can see that when she does that, there's a sort of line that follows behind her baton, and she actually swings that over the whole area of where she knows the ward is, and it puts a whole set of other lines and sort of like a structure where she can see what the actual pieces are of it. And she's actually manipulating that as much as anything else to take the ward apart. And it is like a 5-dimensional trick in that sense. So that's what the
Perfect.
problem is that
It
she
is
has to hold parts of
Yeah.
it with magic as she
pinned
does
and
with it.
peeled back for the moment as you approach the safe itself. Now, this is one of those cases where I do want you to roll preparedness to have the proper tools
Okay.
on hand for this. So I think that's going to be, you knew there was a safe. You've seen that, you've had some time. So I think that's a difficulty 5 to
Mhm.
have the proper items.
Okay. Well, sure. So we'll spend 4.
Sure.
At least move 6. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, and I have the classic
Stethoscope and
stethoscope. Yes. I mean, in some ways, the pleasure of it is having those classic tools,
Yeah.
right? So
Let's have you make that
and a
roll.
pair of gloves.
Okay.
So, because there's always that filch thing that's sort of doing that. So I spent 4, right? Six. A 2, so I just make it, but I
Okay,
make
so
it.
you have the proper tools. So we will give you a +1 on your
Okay.
safe cracking here. I think this is difficulty 8.
Oh, you didn't tell me. I'm sorry. I thought it was 6, so that I
Oh no,
okay.
for this is for the you've
Oh.
got the items.
All right.
The items will give you a +1 on top of whatever you spend.
Okay.
The difficulty of cracking this safe is difficulty 8.
Okay. Okay, so it was just preparedness so that I can do that. And now I can do it. All right, great,
Yes.
great. Got it. See here then. Well, there's locksmith.
Absolutely.
4.
Each of those will count as +3.
Oh, well, let's do 3 of them then.
Okay.
This is
So
not
roll
a good
with
time to
roll
get
with a
caught.
+10.
Yes. So
So
it's
that is
good because I
that is
rolled a
12.
2. So yeah.
So I think this is a scene of you doing this like butter,
Mm.
like twirl, twirl, listen to the tumblers, and you do it fast. That was probably the biggest challenge that you had right now, was doing this in a time that it would make everything seem right, and before that ward can fall back into place. And you will open up the safe, and you will see that there are a number of things in there. You'll see your book.
Mhm.
You will see this other book of Naturalik Magic that was mentioned. That's Portmore Man's thing. You will see that silver key is there. You will see a folded ancient map.
Mm. Yes.
There. You
The
will
map
not,
of London.
yeah, you will not see that film case that you saw before.
Interesting.
There are two other things that you will note. One is that your dagger is there,
My dagger.
the dagger that you brought, the
I did not
knife
bring it.
that they brought.
Oh, they brought.
that
Okay.
Whitewood brought. Well, it's been wiped a little bit clean, but you can still see the telltale traces of blood on it.
Hmm.
And then the other thing that you see is you will see a book that you kind of pull forward. It's in German, do you think? But the thing that strikes you is the cover illustration on it. And you'll see this picture, and there's kind of like a stage, and there's a figure there that's kind of in shadow, kind of in a yellowish shadow. And you will see that there are people kind of drawn forward. And this is a very old yellowed kind of pulpy version of this. And it is the King in Yellow in German. But the thing that strikes you is that there's one of the figures that's standing there towards the bottom of the page, kind of doing this in a panicked look on the thing. And while it is stylized, you are fairly certain that that is Henneberger. He must have been the model for this.
Interesting.
What do you take?
What was I instructed to take in our preparedness? Because I have no, do we take it all? Because we don't want it, these items that seem minor, but maybe a little dangerous, the Yellow King thing, I don't know. But are we just to take all of it to make sure no one else gets it?
For what it's worth, I don't trust any of these people with any of these items, given that, we consider the fate of Albion to be central.
All right.
I will admit that Whitewood is behaving slightly irrationally.
Yes. Yes, he is. And I think I do this as much as anything out of my concern for him. So I will take these items. And
I mean,
most
I
of them
think
are
you've got a little
relatively
bit of
small.
time, Isabella,
Yeah.
because you haven't set off any alarms, hopefully, that we know of. So whoever it is still thinks those items are in the safe. But I do feel that now a clock is ticking
Yes.
for us all. And we need to do
Exactly.
something with these items.
Exactly.
Isabella,
Yes.
if you grab up these items,
Yes.
what I now need is an athletics test of difficulty 5, because now you have to run upstairs, get the microscope, get these concealed, and get back down before anyone starts to go.
What's going on?
She's taking an awfully long time.
Well, and here's the thing is I have to go upstairs, find someone who can unlock his door for me, because I shouldn't be able to do it, and then go through this stuff. So yes, that's what I'm going to do. There's that thing of I probably go upstairs. I will grab them up, go upstairs, look around, doing the look around for the maid. I will get to my own room. I think
Here's all I need to do. I need to know what things you are concealing.
Yes.
And what things you are carrying on your person.
I do not wish to carry any of this on my person. So I will conceal all of the things.
Okay, I think that we've just increased the difficulty of your athletics test.
Okay. Great. So what is the difficulty of my athletics
I
test?
think if you're concealing all of these things in the time that you have and getting into Dr. Whitewood's room, I think we're now at athletics difficulty test 7.
Okay. I'm just gonna spend all my points now. That's it. So I will spend 6.
Oh, I might be able to save you a few points here, Isabella.
Yes.
Architecture is good knowledge of buildings. So you
Ooh.
might know a shortcut round the building with a spend of, I'm not telling you to spend architecture at all, but if you want to save some of your athletics at
Oh,
the cost, that would give you 3 points, possibly, if Lowell agreed with it.
That seems reasonable.
actually, here's the thing is that's my specialty. I know architecture particularly well. I can see hidden rooms and things. It's an old house. Can I use servants?
You
Essentially
yeah.
the sort of side passage doors to get to places.
And knowing where to hide things, all of
Exactly.
that. So yeah, if you make that spend, that's 3 towards your roll.
Okay.
And then you can spend as much as you want. If you were going to do 6, you could just spend another 3 off athletics
Yeah, I'll
and
do
make that roll.
That sounds good.
And
Again, I have my dice I do not trust. You've seen how badly they've been rolling, so 6.
so that is a success with skill. So I think what I'm going to give you as a benefit is that you have, during your journey up quickly, you have spotted concealed places, sections where you can slide these things into and easily retrieve them later. And you've been able to secrete them so they're not all in one place, so that they are all hidden away by the time that you get up there and find someone to let you into Dr. Whitewood's room so you can get the microscope.
Okay. Not the microscope.
Magnifying
The
glass.
magnifying glass.
That's okay. So you we'll get that. I think we're going to, we cut to the pocket doors coming open, and you maybe that moment where you kind of stop, do your hair, get yourself set before you go in as if nothing has happened. And we'll come back with Wilford and Richard. Let's take our first break here, and then we will continue on. Take 10. So information is brought down by Isabella. Jaeger will say, has agreed, doctor. He says, he doesn't ask like how you found the body or anything like that. The details on that. He says, I will grab a servant and we will go upstairs and secure the room and place a sheet over the body. If you will remain here, Dr. Whitewood, to ensure that all the guests, as you suggest, stay in place.
Oh, I think that's a terrible idea.
Precisely.
You, Mr. Jaeger, are as much at risk. Our greatest protection is to be together. I'm not entirely certain what has happened to Mr. Wilford or to Mr. Fraser. I fear they are already dead.
And he will say, regardless, sir, this is my house, and I must ensure that steps are taken to make sure that everything goes well. So, if you'll excuse me, and he will go to step out of the room.
I shall interpose myself. Ladies and gentlemen, I must ask for your support in discouraging Mr. Jaeger from leaving this room. We should set up a protective boards around this room so that all of us remain safe in the face of a murderer. That murderer I believe to be Mr. Pierce.
And I think there is some grumbling there. So let's see. So I think in terms of who supports you immediately, I think the only person who speaks up to back you up, and she does this perhaps a little shrilly, is Von Sval. who's like, yes, yes, everyone stay here. No one leaves. We've gored everything, and none of us gets killed. Yes. Dice is like, let him go. He'll do what he wants to do, Doctor.
What he wants to do, Miss Dice, is questionable.
I think we'll cut on that particular line there. Richard Wilford, what are you doing?
First thing we're going to do is decide what are we going to do? What are we going to do, Richard? We were in the room, now we're not in the room.
Yeah, we'll assume you've
Uh,
stepped out onto the
yeah.
veranda at some point.
The maze?
If there was anyone who had gone to my side entering a strange maze of magical means, Wilford, I believe it would be you. But all evidence points towards Jaeger, who has access to the safe with this dagger, who's lied about it. Part of me wishes to just get it out into the open and get the other
He
guests on
has a
side.
lot of powerful people here with him. I don't think we could overcome him, the four of us. I mean, he has all his servants. I'd expect them to all be on his side. Those hounds, 13 of them.
13 hounds and the servants is a rather daunting prospect. But we have, I don't suppose your gangster friend would appreciate being sacrificed any more than anybody else.
No, but I do believe Brody is in league. Jaeger has promised him immortality.
It's a great shame. I had hoped to learn something from him. And did Chris Grimaldi mention where she hid the objects? King in Yellow reference.
Meta, I think we've stepped out before she stepped in. Is that true?
Fair enough.
I think so.
Yeah, so we don't.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
We don't know where she squirreled it, unless you wanted to take them in the
Wow.
maze or something.
I was thinking of I could use it to fulfill my end of the bargain with Hennenberger, but I could perhaps fill that afterwards, because it feels as though there's not time to do any of that.
I have set up some hopeful magical aids to get us in and out of the maze.
Really, Wilford? Capital.
Indeed.
Well then, far be it from me to turn away from such an opportunity. I'm glad that you're finally working the art. I knew you had it in you.
For outdoor magic, yes.
Yes.
So I think as you walk across the grounds, you will see that at the entrance to the maze, standing there kind of is Mr. August with a couple of the hounds. And you don't see the other servants around. And he is smoking and kind of standing there, and he'll look up as the two of you approach. And he says, Mr. Wilford, Mr. Fraser.
August.
Lance, I was thinking me and my friend could be of assistance. We were going to go into the maze and look for Mr. Pierce.
Well, I sent the others back. Certainly what track we have goes in there. And he'll kind of bend down and, gives the two hounds who have kind of sat now, gives them scritches behind their ears. And I think it's the first time that you've kind of stood close to them here. There's a little bit of light, and you will definitely see that there are marks on the dogs underneath their throats.
Yeah, because we think they've been surgically tampered with, don't we?
Yeah, I think.
So that will add to that sort of conclusion. And they don't make any noise, so maybe he's cut out whatever vocal cords.
Yeah. Mr. August says, I'm not sending my hounds in there. And if I'm perfectly honest, I don't think either of you should go in there.
So why ever not, Lance?
This place isn't right. All the time I've been here, it's never been right.
And how long have you been here, Lance?
Seems like forever.
Yes, many of the servants here have said much the same thing. You are the huntsman, though, are you not? Is it not your role in this story to hunt?
Is it? Am I to lead them out to their death? Is that what this is about?
It could be. What do you believe your part in the story is, Lance?
Kind of looks at you. He says, I thought that I was something to the lady of the house.
And you are. Perhaps you are the hero. Perhaps you are the one who will cut through the labyrinth and lead the seekers of knowledge to the center and find the dark secret that lies beneath it all. Chasing the madman Pierce.
What do you want to spend here?
I'd like to spend writing.
Okay. And he will stand up and he will say, all right, but he'll see him turn to the hounds and speaks to them. Can't hear exactly what he says, but he clearly sends the hounds back.
I fear I suspect, Wilford, that we're in a rather different sort of story altogether.
I will look perplexed and say, but we still got to solve it.
Do we? I don't think this is one of Christie's paperback trash. I think it is something greater. I think that Jaeger himself maybe, I wonder whether he is the author or merely another player in this. But I don't see any further way of, I believe all of this lies within the labyrinth. So perhaps we should step forward and see where the story goes.
Like ancient Greeks, let's step forward.
And the two of you will step inside. Mr. August comes with you and walks along with you. There is a bit of, after you kind of step in the entrance and start walking the maze, of that kind of telescoping of the distance back. Could I have both of you make a difficulty for a stability check?
Sure. I will spend 2.
Okay.
And could you roll that for me, please, Paul? Because I'm painting
I
the room
most
with my
certainly
desktop.
will. Okay, 1d6 plus 2, yes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's whirring and doing a bit more whirring. Anybody see anything come up? No, clearly the internet connection's good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll reload the page. Let's see
Okay.
if anything appears on your screens.
I've just rolled a d6 on Google, and I got
Okay.
a 5.
Okay. So you're
yeah.
all good. And Wilford?
I will also spend 2 points.
Okay. Okay. So that did go through. You will begin walking. The maze is as you walk along, the the distances shift here. And you will feel like a change in the atmosphere as you go deeper. The vines of the hedges get thornier, and the vegetation itself appears older as you move along. And
just
yes,
checking with Richard, do we want to get to the center of the maze? Because I think magically I could guide us there. Or do we want to find Pierce? Because he could have wandered anywhere. Unless...
I believe that's a very good question, Wilford, but I suspect that Pierce would be attempting to reach the center of the maze.
Okay. So, in a previous episode, Lowell, I sent a bird to the center of the maze with a button.
yep,
Now the bird didn't come back, but we know that, well, I think it reached the center of the maze.
that's correct.
So magically, how do I
There is a
use that?
dousing spell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what I will say, in fact, to Wilford's question earlier, is that, well, Wilford, what kind of story would it be if Pierce wasn't in the center of the maze?
Slightly boring one, maybe.
A flabby one, indeed.
So I think stability cost 2 right out to do the dousing spell, let's say. And then I think like a difficulty 5 here. I think the maze itself is kind of fighting against this dowsing, so I'm raising up the difficulty by 1. And
Okay.
the test itself, that test itself is a stability test, but you can spend magic to boost your roll.
I will spend a point of magic. That leaves me on 0. Getting out may be a problem. So I've spent the 2 to activate the spell from stability. I've spent 1 from magic, so that's +3.
Okay.
And you said the difficulty is 5.
Yes.
I'm going to spend another 2 stability.
Not
so
like you to want to be certain about things.
Well, yeah, getting out can take some time, but let's get to the center.
Okay.
So 1d6 plus 5. Hopefully it's a really good roll. Let's see. 8.
Yeah. So you are making your way along here. What is it about the atmosphere or the hedges or the path that you are on, Richard, that tells you that this is in part connected to Dunwich, to that ley line there, that is part of what is powering this?
I think it is that the right path through the maze takes us always in the direction of Dunwich, even though that doesn't seem to make any sense,
right?
Geographically.
Yeah, it's the opposite sort of direction that you would expect, but I think you lose moving through that. And Wilford, what is the smell of the water here? Because you're smelling that lake, and that's actually seems like that's part of what's drawing you on. What is the smell?
I think it's a brackish saltwater smell, which you shouldn't get from a inland freshwater body of water. So it's that sort of smell of the sea and sort of decaying seaweed. Yeah, that smell of the beach.
And I think we will see the two of you moving along, Mr. August kind of with you, and you will find yourself at the center of the maze. But
Before we go, could I do something with August as we go, as we walk through?
Sure,
Just
sure.
because I think I'll lose the opportunity. You are the huntsman. You are of treasure to the Lady Jaeger. But what is the Lady Jaeger in this story, Lance? The Lady Jaeger is a sacrifice, a loss, a stepping stone, a price for the right for her lord to pay for his own gains. But we can change that story. Perhaps this is the story of a hero who saves his love, who risks it all, and who lives happily ever after. Which story would you prefer to be in, Mr. August?
What do you want to do here? Are you trying to do something magical? Or are you trying to do something
trying
mundane?
to do something magical.
Okay.
I think I am trying to do something magical. I think it's becoming clear to me that this is that somehow I don't think that Richard knows. Well, I've got 4 in a cult, so maybe I do know something of the King in Yellow. So the idea that these stories are becoming reality here, and this is all an attempt to sort of tell a certain story.
Absolutely. Let's have you roll with a difficulty 5. You can do stability, magic, writing, occult, any of those things.
I will spend another point of writing to give myself +3 here. So that's 3, difficulty 5, you said? Yeah?
Yeah.
And I'll spend a point of stability.
Okay. And Paul, could you roll for him?
1d6 plus how many?
4.
+4.
1d6 plus 4. Coming right up. You rolled a 5 plus 4 gives you 9.
And I think you will feel you changing who he is because he's not real. He's not like the servants. He is a manifestation. You can tell that Jaeger has bastardized the Zoas. He has used their energy to incarnate into these forms, and that he has made these things to do this story. And I think with that success too, that level that you got, the 9 on difficulty 5, I think you will realize how absolutely desperately patchwork all of this is.
The work of a journeyman.
It is bits and pieces and stories from all of this to get a kind of story, but very vague.
The ending, then. Well, we certainly need to write a better one.
Wilford, Richard, you will step out into the center of the maze, but as I said, this can't be the center because we're at the edge of the lake. There are the stones. There is that tower there that's kind of made that you saw before, Wilford. But below it, you see there is stones kind of laid out. It's halfway like a stage and halfway like a throne, a large throne there made of stone. And the smell of the sea comes in here. And I think that as you two kind of step out from your entryway out into the center, I think kitty corner, I think we also see Portmore's man step out at exactly the same time. And you'll see Pierce kind of look at you, startled, though he looks like a man who has been wandering in this maze for a week. We'll come back to that in just one moment. Isabella, you are in the room where you see Dr. Whitewood kind of confronting, and you see that right now the the sort of mood of the room does not necessarily seem to be on Whitewood's side. Phillips seems uncertain which way to go. You definitely have the sense that Hennenberger and Chaplin are kind of in Jaeger's corner, and he already kind of has the advantage of this being his house and having a certain status here. What are you doing, Isabella?
I think she sort of kind of stops and addresses the room, and she goes, I think some of you have had a promise that is incredibly important made to you by Jaeger, and perhaps you would honor that, perhaps not. For the most of us, my guess is that we've been invited here to be sacrifices to the ritual that he has planned. Not that this is particularly difficult to discern, and that usually goes a long ways towards convincing people that this. And she sort of steps. I am impressed that he went so early for Miss Stutz, though. Very, very interesting move.
What do you want to spend here or roll? What do you think?
I didn't think about it. I just wanted to say it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And feel free to reshape your statement to fit with that.
Yeah. So this is interpersonal, right?
This could be interpersonal, unless you have to give something else that you want to be using to make this case. For example, if you wanted to, this is more of a persuasion than an investigation kind of thing. If you wanted to perhaps use sense trouble as a means of revealing trouble to the others, with some kind of investigative spend to back that up.
Sure, I could do that. Yeah, essentially almost like I will do the run through of what has been discovered, and essentially how things have gone from the get-go. So, and I say, and truthfully, the auction is trash.
All right.
But sure. What do you, so sense trouble, definitely. And then what do I need here?
Okay, well, I'm going to roll for him.
Okay. Wait, so I know what I need. Okay, that sounds good.
Oh, yeah. I have a 10.
Oof, my gosh. Let's see here. So
yes, more good rolls, more spends.
yes, that's what I need. Okay, so I guess that since I'm going up against that, I recognize that I need to be pretty good. I'm really getting hit by huge high rolls that I need here. So sense trouble. So spend the 5 there. Then I think the thing that I'm using is actually craft, and it is really presentation in that sense that I have that sense of drama. And what do you say? And I hold their attention while I'm saying it. Does that make sense? I'm using my stage presence craft, essentially.
Have you make that roll?
Okay. 1d6. Always so disappointing. A 2. I know I'm going to roll 2s, but that was 9 plus 2 is 11.
So 11. So I think it is just edging out. And I think he will go. Well, I will defer to your wisdom, Miss Grimaldi. We will stay here. And he will step into the room. And I think there is a bit of a dice now kind of calculating exactly what needs to happen. And Henneberger, and you see that kind of like calculation. Dr. Whitewood.
It occurs to me, Mr. Jaeger, that if indeed you invited us here in good faith, one way to demonstrate that would be to return the items we voluntarily handed over to you earlier to us.
Thought we were all to stay together.
I suggest we stay together, of course, but it does occur to me that I have some doubts about your good faith. One way to demonstrate that would be to prove to us that in good faith you have secured our items, and that would remove any motive you might have for killing us.
That does seem reasonable. If everyone would like to rise, then you may all follow me to the study. And I think you'll see everybody get up from their chairs to follow, except for Chaplain.
He doesn't?
He doesn't. He's staring off in the distance.
What is he staring off at?
The wall?
Mr. Chaplain? Will you be joining us?
And Dice will say, you don't need to worry about him anymore.
I will for certainty, just...
Yeah, and you do see Jaeger looks startled.
Uh-huh.
And Dice will get up and get her handbag and kind of pull Chad and Miss Marlowe to her. And yes, you'll put your fingers to Chaplain's neck, and there is no pulse.
I think I'm prepared to string this out a little longer in the room then.
Okay.
Because all of this is by way of buying time for something to happen out there.
Yeah.
So I must insist for the moment we remain here, ladies and gentlemen. Did anyone notice whether Mr. Chaplain took a drink? Is there a drink next to him? What drink did he take? Does he smell of almonds?
And Dice will say, oh, please let us not go through this story again. That was me.
Very sensible, Miss Dice.
I'm sorry. He seemed the most dangerous of the people that are in Mr. Jaeger's corner, and so it seemed the most prudent and expeditious. Expeditious? Is that how you say it?
Expeditious?
I perhaps have had a little too much to drink.
Then I think, in that case, I think it's worth capitalizing on Verity's kind of drifting in our direction to finally put the finger on Jaeger. So, well, if there is no mystery to be solved there, I suggest we check our items.
And you definitely see that Jaeger is exchanging glances with Henneberger. And Henneberger is still seated there. he looks unruffled by all of this. And he will say, well, I have no worries, but yes, if you all wish to go and check on those things, you may do that. I will continue my reading of the stories here.
I think we'll settle for that, will we, Isabella? A glance between us, do we settle for that?
I think she stops and she goes, what story is it that you're particularly interested in reading, Dr. Moon?
I am a historian and archaeologist. I read the story of the world. But now I'm enjoying this particular English country house murder mystery, though it has gotten a little off script.
Fascinating. And she sort of stops and says, have things been off script for you for a while?
And you see him pause and he kind of looks off in the distance and he says, yes, and you are rather causing me a problem. I'm going to cut away from you two. Fraser, Wilford, what do you do? Wilford, you're muted.
So we've got Portmore's man here, and he looks as if he's been in here for a week. We don't particularly like Portmore, although I think Richard has indicated that he may not really be the adversary we seek. What do you reckon, Richard? Is he going to get out of this maze, or is he going to?
If he, let's see how useful he can be to us here. You know, it's always useful to have an NPC that you can throw into things or push into things or whatever, right? But I think he can't be the master, because the master of this plan would not be lost within their own maze for weeks at a time. Subjective weeks, presumes. I will step forward, and I just wanted to double check. What was it we knew about Pierce? We knew that Pierce
Is the old magician, and he's put himself in the body of his nephew.
Yeah, what was the name of the old magician?
Nightingale.
Nightingale Unfathomable.
Yeah, I will. Mr. Pierce, or am I speaking to Nightingale the Unfathomable?
See, he will shake his head. And I think as he walks towards you, kind of in the moonlight here, his appearance changes. You'll see this older, taller figure. Still has a little bit of the same face, but definitely a different person. And he will say, what of it?
Oh, simply curiosity, Mr. Nightingale. Those of us who walk this story appear to wear many masks, and yours is falling. Of course, the greedy, powerful elder who wishes to sustain his life at the cost of those who trust and love him. That's a story that ends well, isn't it? Particularly here in the center of all things. Have you found your way through this path? Has it treated you well?
And you will see him stop, and he's looking at you, and he's looking at Wilford, and you see that half of his attention is on the two of you, and half of his attention is on the throne. And you notice that as he's walked forward, he hasn't walked directly towards you. He's been angling to get himself a little bit closer to that throne.
You seek the throne. You seek to be the king.
Neither you nor I can be the king of Albion. But this is a false throne that Jaeger wishes to fill with something else, another king for Albion. So he can call that up. Regardless, it has a powerful charge, and he will start to raise one of his hands.
And I will.
Wilford,
No,
what are you doing?
I'll be having that, and I'll nudge Wilford.
Well, when in doubt, 9 millimeters of lead always go down quite well.
Okay.
So yeah, a revolver at the ready and plug in one.
Okay. So you still have a little bit of shooting because you didn't use it all on that thing. So difficulty 4 to shoot him here.
I'm gonna spend at least 3 points.
Okay.
That gives me a few more shots. 1d6 plus 3. Let's see what we get. I'm happy with that.
So-
7 in total.
Okay. So you may roll me 2d6.
There's even a button for that. 8.
So that becomes 3 and 1. So you will hit him with a couple of rounds. And it definitely doesn't hit him as hard as you would have expected. But does wing him. And he is going to also do something, and he is going to let me roll for his thing. Let's see.
Richard puts his hand on Wilford's back, and in his pocket he has his egg of.
His what? It cut out in a weird like
That
My
actually
egg-
sounded like you crushed an egg.
yes,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
wild.
But yeah,
So you
my
have
egg-
that egg.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just want to put myself in a sympathetic space to be of use, perhaps.
So he runs towards the throne even as those shots hit him, and he's bleeding, and he does raise his hand, and you'll hear these words that will kind of burn out. The moonlight gets a little more intense as he does that. And Wilford, you will feel this force, this shrivening reach out into your soul. And what does that egg do again?
That egg has, I believe I have it written down on my notes, the egg of protection. No, not there. Magic egg of
3
protection.
points.
3 points. 3 points of protection against
Okay.
I imagine the warning of the presence of inimical magic that I set it up to do has been going off constantly since we walked into the
Yeah.
maze.
So you do that, and he fires that off, and Wilford, you will feel this hit you and pass through you. And Richard, you will feel the egg start to crumble, but none of that hits you. I rolled 2s on both damage dice there, and he is staggering towards the throne. Wilford, Richard, who wants to go? He's trying to close that distance here.
I'm going to shout to Richard, your sword, Richard, your sword, while I take another shot at him.
Okay. Again, difficulty 4.
So again, I'm going to spend another 3 points. I'm getting very, very low. But 1d6 plus 3. Now 6, so just a plain hit.
Just a plain hit. Roll me a d6.
High number would be nice. That's not it.
It does hit him. His protection is a little bit less here. That's clearly degrading as he's moving. And you will see him staggering up the stones towards the throne. Richard?
pull out the sword cane, and I toss it to Lancelot. And I say, this is your role in the story, Lance. This is it. Slay the usurper.
All right. Think you've already set this up, so I'm just going to have you roll me a d6, Richard.
Roll that for me, please, Paul.
That's what we want. A 6.
And if this is my mirrored sword cane,
Right.
due to the otherworldly, I would suggest that whatever he is, he's a transferred personality of a magician, so he would class as otherworldly, even if his body may be mortal.
Will catch the blade, and he's already running towards him, towards Nightingale as he gets up those stones, and then suddenly your sword is right through him. And you will see it run him through as he's reaching, but not making it to the throne. And you will see a black dove kind of pour out of his mouth, like a soul about to take flight. But as it does, as it lifts up a bit, Wilford, you'll see feel that same expression as that black dove looks down from above at the maze. And have you ever seen a hawk hit a pigeon? You ever seen that?
Just
boom, and there's just a cloud of feathers. That is what you see. You see no hawk, you see no anything like that. It's just that this black dove, this magician's soul, flies up, looks down at the maze, and then is gone. And the body hits the ground. And August goes, that was the ending I required. And he's gone, and you'll hear the tinkling, tinkling, tinkling as the sword hits the ground.
Well, I only hope Lady Jaeger is as fictional as Lance. I shall be very disappointed.
Agreed.
Well,
and there is a throne. It's connected. You can feel the pulse of this ley line here that has been diverted from Dunwich, has been invested with old energy of an older crown of England.
Do we re-sanctify the place?
do we claim it? Do we sit upon the seat? Do we raise ourselves to the power that we need to challenge our enemies, to destroy Portmore and his vision?
I'd say claim Dunwich. This place is tainted. It's wrong. This is not the true ley line.
We
Sitting on a poisoned throne. Dangerous move.
Let's put aside our masks, Wilford. We are but bit players in the grand schemes of things. There is, in the mundane world, we are 4 itinerants: a disgraced doctor, an American, that was just funny. A pauper, and
Please.
And in the world of magic, what are we? We are those who unleashed the dragon upon Albion and who slew it, and yet see it drifting further away from us to those who claim power in both worlds.
Aye, true. You seek it more than me, so the throne's yours, Richard. Sit upon it. I'll support you.
But what would Crispina say? you do raise a point. What would be the point? What would be the point of what we have worked for if it was to be claimed upon this throne? We seek to restore Albion, but from what Pierce said, Nightingale, whoever foul beast it was, then this would not be Albion. This would be something
A
else.
version of tainted.
There is a figure on the throne. It is in tatters and yellow hood. It is spectral and half-made, and you'll see it will reach out its hand towards you, Richard. In its other hand, it holds a blade, and it gestures for you to come forward. The King in Yellow will knight you if you will come. He has stories that you can tell.
Resist, my friend. Resist. This is wrong.
I am afraid, Wilford, I made a promise to Hennenberger. And these are perhaps stories that can be used to restore Albion.
Shit me, I've broken hundreds of promises, Richard. You can break this one. Don't worry about it, my friend. Think of the bigger picture.
Do I get the impression, just to clarify, because it's all wibbly wobbly occulty stuff,
right?
That by being knighted by the king would not be,
Good.
dedicating this to the King in Yellow and Carcosa. This would simply return. What I want to do, I think, is to return Carcosa to Carcosa, the King in Yellow back to the Great Play, and Hennenberger back to that. But I would happily be Sir Fraser of the Court of Carcosa if it would allow us to continue on. But if this would be desecrating Albion itself.
The King of Yellow wants you to step forward to acknowledge his right to be Lord of Albion on this throne and to be the keeper and bringer of what Albion promises. And then all of Albion will be the King in Yellows.
It needs to return to Dunwich. This place is evil.
I pick up my blade. And I settle into a fencing stance with the King in Yellow.
I cut away.
Yeah.
Let's take a 5 and then we'll come back. Recording. Dr. Whitewood, you will come here. Do you want to take them down to the office now with the safe, or is something else? What is your feeling here?
I think that we need to nail Jaeger here,
Okay.
as not just murderer but thief.
And Jaeger, you, Isabella, von Spall, Phillips,
The survivors.
Phillips and Chatrapana. You haven't seen Miss Dumont, Lady Marlowe, Chad. All go. Hennenberger remains
And
here.
Verity. Is it?
Oh,
it's
it's
easier to
Verity.
say.
Verity.
So only Hennenberger is left in the room.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't care about him now.
Okay. Isabella, do you go along with this revelation?
I think she does go along, but she does stop to say with minute to Dr. Hennenberg. She goes, "You always make the wrong choices. It's desperation."
You do not know from desperation. I admire artists like you who can create who can make new things, who can live your life. That is not my path.
Excuse me. There was a way I can send you back, I would.
All of this was to send me back, and you and your friends have caused me that this is not going to pass.
It's very high.
And he'll look at you and nod as all of you head out. And it'll be that thing where Jaeger opens the door to his study. Everyone files in. And
Is Lady Gwen there?
no. So all of you will be there, and Henneberger will go over to Henneberger, I'm sorry, Jaeger will go over to the safe, and there'll be the spinning of the dial, and he will open it up, and of course, in classic fashion, does the thing where he opens up the safe door and stands beside it as if to go, and here is, and you'll see him stop.
I would like to make that preparedness roll now to have a revolver.
Okay.
How difficult do we think?
I think that is difficulty 4.
I will spend 3. I think. Yeah. Yeah, so that's no, I'll spend 4. I really don't want this to go at all wrong.
Okay.
And roll 1d6. That is 5 plus 4 is 9.
So even as he turns back to you with a look of shock on his face, he sees the revolver in your hand, Dr. Whitewood.
And I shoot him.
Okay. Please roll 1d6 for me. How much firearms do you want to spend on this?
I'm going to put all 3 in.
Okay. So you could miss if you rolled a 1. But you do not. Roll me a d6 for damage.
Oh,
So there
That is a
is the thing,
6.
everyone's standing there, and I think the gunshot goes off, and Chad shrieks, and everyone else is like whatever, as you shoot Jaeger through the heart.
that man is murderer, thief, and fraud, ladies and gentlemen.
And he will stagger back and slide down the wall, and head will drop.
Shoot him in the head to make sure.
I stop you before you do that.
You step forward. Isabella stops you.
She's like, you might need to save those bullets for something else. Who knows what's going to unravel now?
It was the right thing to do. I don't know if there's a sanity cost in this.
That is an interesting thing. I think you have seen people, but I don't think you've shot a person unarmed in cold blood. So I think I do want to take a point of sanity off from you, Doctor. I think that with the gun in in Whitewood's hand, and him having shot Jaeger, and then moving forward to shoot him again, and Isabella stopping him, I think you'll definitely see that Lady Marlowe and Harley Phillips and her companion, like they look at you like oh my God, this guy's going to kill us.
And I think I turn towards them and say, it is time to decide, ladies and gentlemen, do you support Albion as it should be or not? And there is a hint of madness in Whitewood at the moment.
Isabella,
I sort of turn and go, I think that this has come to an end. She goes, I will be going to the maze to see what is going on. If any of you are curious, you're welcome to come and see.
Philip says, please put that gun away, Dr. Whitewood.
I need to know where you stand, Miss Phillips.
It's just Dr. Whitewood.
I stand in a place that takes no orders from a man with a gun.
That seems reasonable. Albion
Hand
does
the
not
gun
hold
to
a
Isabella.
gun. Yeah. Thank you.
Where do you stand, Miss Phillips?
Not here. And she will reach over to her friend, and she will, while keeping an eye on the two of you, clearly make to leave the room.
Miss Dice?
Huh? What?
Where do you stand, Miss Dice? With us or against us? With us or with Portmore?
Oh, I'm not with Portmore.
That's good enough for me. I don't think anyone else in the room matters.
Cutting.
She will turn and she will say, Chad, we should probably get our bags. Lady Marlowe, if you'd go down to the kitchen and see if they have any of my whiskey left, I don't want to just leave it behind. Wilford, Richard, you're standing there. You draw that fencing saber up. You assume that stance. You see the king kind of look at you, and then the maze is gone. They're just these old stones. There's just a lake. There's just a dead body, along with these other two bodies that you see floating in the lake, bloated. There is no maze. There is no tower. Wilford, you muted.
That's a relief, Richard. I didn't think I had the skills to get out of that maze. Thank God it's disappeared. Somebody's smiling on us.
You would have led us through, Wilford. You always do.
I'd have tried, but it's dead handy that it's disappeared. To the house. Let's see what damage has gone on there.
Do we take any sanity loss for having observed Carcosa, the king in yellow himself?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I think both of you lose 1 point of sanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the cost I'm going to put on you, because that is much harder to recover.
Yeah, I was thinking stability loss is not particularly interesting in this context.
No, I do think you have seen something that you shouldn't have seen.
Yeah. And I think as we cut away from us as we go past, I think we should just mumble all the world's a stage and we are but players.
And you will walk up towards the house. And I think as you are approaching, you will see that Harley Phillips and her companion are coming out with their luggage right now. And they'll look up at you, and Harley will say, most of the staff is gone. And your friend, Dr. Whitewood, is in a bad place.
Thanks for pointing out the obvious. When isn't he in a bad place? Of Jaeger? What can you tell us of Jaeger?
And this is probably the first time you've heard Agnes speak up. She says, your friend Dr. Whitewood put a bullet in him and then wanted to put a second bullet in him, but Mr. Grimaldi stopped him.
Bloody hell. Who gave him a bloody gun?
But
Richard, we need to get in there, sort this out.
I suppose at least Whitewood's found his courage again.
And the two of you will go inside, and I think we'll kind of cut to, even though the timing may not be exactly right, but the two of you coming on Whitewood and Grimaldi. There's a little bit of chaos in the household. There are a handful of servants, the lesser servants, the woman who was waiting on you, Isabella, and others who are still there, but the butler's gone. The lady's maid is gone. There is like where are they is a question, and they're trying to figure that out. But Wilford Fraser, you will find Whitewood and Grimaldi.
Is Lady Jaeger still present?
You don't see her right now.
Well, that Christie would never have written such an ending to Monsieur Poirot, I think.
I think this is much more about Holmes than Poirot. Holmes sees justice as the key. Justice has been done, Richard. Justice has been done. Miss Grimaldi, do you have your own gun handy?
Yes, and I have yours. And that's
Yes.
how it's going to stay.
May I borrow yours for a moment?
Not at all.
I don't intend to threaten anyone. We just need to ensure the crime scene is entirely explicable.
I do need your gun. Yes. You will go with Richard and Wilford, and I will take care of that.
As Wilford probably removes, put the gun in his hand and fire into the wall. It must appear that this was an act of self-defense.
Cup of tea, Doctor. A cup of tea. Let's go down to the kitchens.
Yes, Wilford. Tea. Yes. Tea.
Nothing.
Isabel, you can make that crime scene explicable. We'll assume you make
absolutely.
that. Yeah. Okay. Investigative spends, clear that thing out. I think as you are finishing that out, you will see that Chad is carrying the last of the suitcases down, and Lady Marlowe will come over to where you are at.
Yes. Can you stay behind? How bound are you?
I need to go with her. She has made me promises that she is obliged to. I told you that she knew something that I needed to know. And she'll reach in her purse and she will pull out a photograph and she will hand it to you. And you will see it's a picture of Lady Marlowe, clearly at some kind of party, sitting there drinking, a much more like alive and happier look on her face. And you can see your brother seated next to her.
She goes on your feet of this. Come and find me.
When I know what has happened to him, I will come and find you.
Find them together. Safer that way.
I must go.
She actually steps and says no. And she gives her a hug. She goes, I'm so glad he had someone.
and she will go trying to keep herself together as she goes outside. And they roll in to their car there, open top, and all. Richard, Dr. Whitewood, Wilford, you get Dr. Whitewood calmed down a bit. Does that seem reasonable?
It does. It does. Would my what does psychoanalysis help recover?
It can help recover in the short term stability.
Oh, he's got loads of that, so
Yeah,
let's not waste that.
Yeah,
Or panicked investigators to a state of calm as well. Maybe appropriate. To be honest, I'm looking for Dr. Henenberger and Stallone.
you will find Dr. Henenberger is gone. You can see that the sort of doorway out of the study out onto the veranda is open, and there are footprints that lead out from that vanish. I think you will find Von Spall is like still in the room with the safe, still still a little freaked out and panicked. She kept quiet and in the background during that whole Dr. Whitewood holding the gun. And she is trying to keep herself together. But you will see Miss Dumont, Pascal, will come, and she has with her Lady Gwen.
Mr. Mont.
Yes, I tracked down Lady Jaeger. She was out looking for someone.
Who are you looking for, my lady?
She goes, where is Lance?
Lance has returned to where he came from.
He wouldn't leave without me.
He had no choice.
Did my cousin do this? Did my cousin send him away?
Yes.
And I think Pascal will kind of do that thing where she keeps Lady Gwen from collapsing, and she says, I'm going to take her in to the household.
Thank you, Mr. Mont. I wanted to tell you that your employer, such as it were, your keeper, may have not been able to fulfill his end of the bargain, but I would be most interested.
We will see about that.
And I will, I'm happy to do a preparedness if it's meaningful, but I will have quickly jotted, I'd like to hand Lady Gwen a letter from Lance.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
I wrote.
That feels good. You're a writer. I think you can write the proper send-off letter. Wilford, what are you doing during all of this sort of wrapping up?
I think mine's a little bit more meta, really. Realigning those stones back to Dunwich, is that a sort of a long ritual?
No, I think that if you now that you have a chance to kind of walk the line and look here, I think that you will find where the stones are. There's a particular term for it. I can't remember what the term for it is, but there's a particular object that does the realignment. And I think if you can find that, and it is a little bit of work, but not too much for you to prise that free and restore that ley line out to Dunwich.
Superb.
So we'll see you moving that stone, getting that set, and the atmosphere on the grounds will change. You'll have that feeling. You'll know that has happened. And you will know that this is an unclaimed ley line, and you can bind yourselves to this in the way that you have before to mark this as another point of power for yourselves.
I definitely think as a group of magicians, that should be something we do.
So everyone may add another point of magic.
We also have all of the magical items that we stole.
Yes, you
Good.
do.
Oh, no,
Oh,
there
what?
is no book. That King in Yellow book, it does not exist anymore.
Okay. But you do have the items that you brought.
I will return those to the Armitage House along with the book that no longer exists.
Right. And the other things there.
The old map of London.
The old map of London. You will take a look at that and you will realize that it is a map of London from around the time of the Great Fire from the 1600s. And it maps the lines of power, but we'll come back to that at a later point in time. We've got a few artifacts to deal with to go through. Everyone has gained a point of magic. You may restore your stability and your essentially point spends back up to full. I don't think anybody took any significant health damage. The only thing that doesn't get restored here is sanity. And I think we did 3 sessions, so I think it's fair to give you 3 build points. Does that feel like an okay place for us to stop?
It
Okay.
definitely does.
We are taking next week off because we wrapped this session. We'll play the week after that, and then we'll skip for the Star Wars Minicon. So off a week, on, off a week. Oh, I love your little letter there, Richard. Very nice. So I would like to do a quick stars and in particular wishes, thoughts on things. Dr. Whitewood, let's start with stars with wishes for you.
I just had so much fun with this. I loved the way that you allowed us to be running a country house murder investigation that went wildly out of control at the same time as Wilford and Fraser are, doing the real supernatural work. I was really grateful, Sherry, that you allowed Isabella to kind of grasp the opportunity to do the kind of things that I think we should see more of her doing. If I was putting a wish in here, which is the locksmith, the craft, the conceal, the action girl of the 1930s. Paul Wilford is becoming the still center of this group. He is more stable than any of us now, I think. And that's his job, is to ground us, I think. And Richard it's a start to both of you, really, to you and Lowell. Lowell for dangling the possibility, and for you, almost talking it through live about will I, won't I, and pulling a sword on the King in Yellow is ballsy. I did wonder if Lowell, when we had that break, you were busily statting out the King in Yellow.
Oh God.
So no, that was great. I really enjoyed that. Thank you for allowing me to indulge my madness.
Awesome. Yeah, I did definitely enjoy that. Wilford.
I really enjoyed the session. Tied up. I mean, I was quite confused for a lot of this, but that doesn't matter. Still very, very enjoyable. I love Sherry's sort of lock picking and that whole scene. Big point spend there, especially when you rolled really high, lol, as you always seem to. But really nice scene there, Sherry. Richard, well, not Richard, Will, why is it the bloody King in Link Yellow always bloody tempted selling my characters out? But you didn't this time, so very, very nice. And clearly, you grasped a lot more than I did, so good on you there. And steered me very well. That was good. Alan, you are as mad as a box of frogs, as they say. But again, some good steering there, because it really sort of, and really to you, Lowell, you really have this knack for sort of increasing the pace sort of exponentially. The start of the scenario is always nice and gradually slow, and it always gets a bit manic in the final session. But again, very different from a lot of the other games you run. And I really do think, Lowell, it was handled really well. Me and Will consumed a lot of time out in the maze, but hopefully the players left in the house didn't feel it at all, because I think that was hard GMing there, and you did it really well. I definitely wouldn't have got anywhere near that. So thank you.
Can I just say, I was able to shoot the villain. Hey,
With 3 points. I mean, that was a good roll of a 6 there.
Oh yeah, that was an excellent moment where the dice were not cowardly betrayers of you. Richard.
I would like to give a big start to the other two players for allowing us to, for making time, for allowing us to go off into the maze and go in the weird occulty space while they, like keep the pot boiling over in the mansion, basically. And deal with
mundane.
The mundane side of it, indeed. Yeah, even though the mundane side of it is a room full of magicians.
Yes.
I did really enjoy all the murder mystery stuff. I really, of course, really enjoyed it when given an opportunity to subvert that and make it into weird fiction instead, and the play and the writer and everything. So I had spent the whole previous sessions like going like, well, we do seem to be in the murder mystery. Were we ever going to get to the bar? I don't want to, start going off down rabbit holes and stuff and take up time and derail us. But it went really well. Wilford's shooting the magician was one of my favorite parts as well. It was just like he casts a spell on you and blow him away with a pistol. And thank you to Lowell for letting me, use writing in that way and have because Lancelot, kings, thrones, etc. seems all very fitting together, right? Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that we've gained a magic point, first one since forever. That pretty much all of us cast spells, which unprecedented, frankly. Many sessions where I'm the only one who's ever spent a magic point. And that we've acquired a bunch of magical items. I don't think that we've really made any allies beyond Von Spall and Lady Marlowe, who seems more of a patsy than anything for Verity. But I hope to do so with perhaps Dumont, given that I am able to travel to the Aether of Dreamlands. So I'd love to come with some sort of bargain for her. I guess that would be my wish. And otherwise, more and more weirdness and more striking back at Portmore, who are clearly a right bunch of bastards. And therefore, it's very satisfying when they go, basically.
Absolutely. And Isabella.
The first thing that I have to say is that Richard steering the story with the story was so well done. So well done. It was, I think there's that part of playing the parts in the story that has a certain power, but when you start navigating that way, you were so spot on, Richard. Everything. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is a turning point. This is when the movie gets really weird and people lose the thread, but no, this is perfect. So so great. Just perfect transition, the way that you moved Lance through it, just great. And I had some sympathy for your back and forth on it, but with the Yellow King of maybe that would be a way to go. No, don't do it. Don't stay good. You have more options. Anyway, good. I'm glad. That worked out great. I have to say that that Dr. Whitewood in his manic and not entirely sane mode, is a galvanizing figure. And there you go. You made a lot of things happen, and they turned out to all be things that needed to happen, and that was great. And you were scary, and I think that was, and it was really funny to work with that, with essentially everyone terrified of Dr. Whitewood, who has traditionally not been the most frightening of people, mostly reassuring. And it was an interesting space to work through. And Paul, you are so sensible, and you're so stalwart, and I don't know what I would do with you. And I just want to say that Isabella always prefers to be paired with you, but in some ways it might not be the best use of resources in the group.
Awesome. Thank you all very much. I really enjoyed this little country house mystery with a lot of metafiction in there, and I think I appreciate your indulging the weird details and such. And a lot of characters got murdered, so that's always a good thing. So I am going to stop the recording.